This is the Less Insurance Dependence podcast show with my good friend Gary Takacs and myself, Naren Arulrajah.
We appreciate your listenership, your time, and most of all, we appreciate your intention to reduce insurance dependence in your practice. Our goal is to provide information that will help you successfully reduce insurance dependence and convert your practice into a thriving and profitable dental practice that provides you with personal, professional, and financial satisfaction.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Less Insurance Dependence podcast, the official podcast of the Reducing Insurance Dependence Academy, www.rid.academy. Membership to the Academy is a gift from Gary and I in appreciation for your listenership. Visit rid.academy and don't forget to register. By registering, you will have access to all of our resources and a free pass to all of our events, including our annual summit. I am Naren, your co-host. Today's podcast is titled, Will Dental Insurance Finally Get a Much Needed Overhaul in 2025? Before we get into today's topic, I have a quick announcement to make. We have our annual event coming up. This is our live event, Thriving Dentist Live Workshop in Austin, Texas. And the topic is how to grow your practice to full potential and achieve an effective work-life balance. You will get a blueprint to kickstart 2025. It's 1st of Feb, 9 to 5 Eastern, Saturday, full day in Austin. thrivingdentist.com/Austin is the link. Gary, any comments?
Yeah, I'm excited about this live event. The last time we did a live event was in late February 2020. So it'll be about 5 years. We did that event in Atlanta, Georgia at the Porsche Experience Center and had a terrific audience. And we had plans to do live events throughout 2020. However, COVID got in the way. But we've had a lot of requests. We've been doing virtual events since then. And we've had a lot of requests from you to come back with a live event. So we're doing it February 1st, 2025 in Austin, Texas. All day Saturday, 9 to 5, 8 hours of CE. And think of it as drinking from a fire hose on everything related to developing a thriving practice and achieving effective work-life balance along with developing a thriving practice. They are not mutually exclusive. If you think they are mutually exclusive, meaning you can have one but not the other, then you need to be at that event because I'm going to show you why they are not mutually exclusive and how to achieve it. Come join us. We've got some early bird tuition specials happening right now. I would encourage you to go to thrivingdentist.com/Austin and make plans to come join us on February 1st in Austin, Texas. Look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, Gary. Let's jump into our conversation today. Will dental insurance finally get a much needed overhaul in 2025? I'm sure I have my opinions, but you are the expert. You have been helping practices for the last, decade or longer, do just that, deal with insurance, make the most out of it. And, if it doesn't make sense to drop it. So what are your thoughts, Gary?
Yeah. Will dental insurance finally get a much needed overhaul in 2025? No. No, it will not. I would like to report differently. I would like to report, oh, yeah.
Yes, the answer has been no for the last 30 years, right? So why is it going to be anything but a no this year?
Right? It's, if we look back at the history of dental insurance, it had noble plans in the beginning. It was created by dentists for dentists. Delta was one of the first dental insurance companies. It was created by dentists for dentists. And that has morphed very terribly into what we have today. And it's no longer by dentists for dentists. It's simply a profit generating machine that's controlled by the insurance companies. They look at you as disposable. The dentist, they look at you as they don't need you. You need them is their mentality around this. So I'd love to report that, yes, insurance is going to get a big overhaul in 2025, but it just isn't going to happen. It's too deeply entrenched. The game is too slanted in their favor. And they have no reason to change when they are literally banking hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in profit from premiums and people not utilizing those premiums. And, if you need any proof of it not changing, witness the very low fee schedules provided by PPO plans. In fact, many PPO plans are reducing what they're paying you, not raising fees, They're reducing an already abysmally low fee schedule. They're making those fees even lower. And that's clear indifference on their part. They literally are thumbing their nose at you saying, we don't need you. There's another dentist that will jump in line right behind you. And sadly, the game is tilted in their favor. I'd love to report differently, but that's just not the case. I do think we're going to see some minor improvement in 2025. Let me be an optimist and share with you what I think we will see. What I think we will see is a national movement to not allow dental insurance companies to set fees on uncovered services. Some states, state insurance is regulated at the state level. And there are some states that are in the minority, but there are some states now that have already enacted legislation that does not allow a dental insurance company to set a fee on an uncovered service. Naren, think about that just intellectually for a minute. Why should an insurance company be able to set a fee on something that isn't covered in their contract? Can you give me a good reason?
No.
There is no good reason other than control.
Yeah.
Other than to control you. Like, for example, if they have a dental implant exclusion, in other words, dental implants are not covered under the policy, that's perfectly fine for them to write a policy that doesn't cover insurance, but they shouldn't be able to set your fees on a service that they don't cover. And that's something I think we're going to see change in 2025, mainly because we have an advocate at the top of the ADA, Dr. Brett Kessler, the current president of the ADA, that is going to be championing that cause. And he's going to be working tirelessly to get that passed on the individual state levels. And that's something I think we might see some progress on. And that would be a great move, but it still doesn't significantly change the relationship you have with the insurance company, meaning that they set your fees. And by virtue of signing up to be a preferred provider, you agree to accept those fees. And they're simply at levels that are unsustainable. If you actually did the cost accounting if you look at your, pick a procedure fee, a crown, and you determine what your costs were to provide that crown, in many cases, you are losing money to provide services. Look at hygiene for a minute, especially with rising hygiene wages. In many cases, if you broke down your hygiene reimbursement, it's actually costing you money to provide dental hygiene care in your practice. You're paying to have your hygiene patients taken care of in your practice. Naren, that is simply not a sustainable business model.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
What's happening in Massachusetts, Gary?
Well, there was a legislation that goes back to 2023 that in Massachusetts, they ruled that they had to pay out a certain percentage of all premiums taken in had to be paid out in the form of benefits, And that was actually taken to a public vote on it. I think Delta thought that they would win it hands down because Delta had a big advertising budget. They were advertising against it. However, there was a grassroots movement in Massachusetts that it passed. It passed that now. Do you have the exact numbers in front of you, Naren, in terms of what the payout used to be and what it is now in terms of the premium? Are you looking at that online right now? And do you see what that is?
No, I'm trying to find it, but I couldn't get it. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm going to use ballpark figures here for the sake of our podcast discussion. But I believe that before the legislation was passed, they were only paying out something like around 30% of premiums were paid out in benefits. And they were legislated to have to pay out, they called it their loss ratio, and they had to pay out now closer to 50% in benefits. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that the individual fees that they're paying are going to be higher. What may end up happening in the state of Massachusetts is dental insurance companies may choose to leave the state. That's the only state where that legislation is passed. And they may choose to say, it's kind of like a property insurance company, Naren, making a decision to not insure homeowners in Florida because of the very high risk of storm damage. Can you imagine a property insurance company deciding not to write insurance policies in Florida because of hurricanes?
Yeah, I know exactly. I understand what you're saying.
So same thing might happen here where Delta just says, well, there's 49 other states where you can write insurance policies. We're just going to leave, we're going to leave Delta, or we're going to leave Massachusetts.
Okay.
And that's something that'll happen or could happen, because of that. So there's going to be minor gamesmanship that goes on, but there is no executive committee in any dental insurance company that are having meetings saying, how can we pay our dentists more?
Right.
They are not. Because what would they have to do to pay dentists more? What would an insurance company have to do to pay dentists more? There's two possibilities.
One is to make less profit, and pay the.
Now, how's that going to go over with an executive board?
It's not going to go well.
And then the second option would be to raise premiums. How's that going to go with the employers that buy the policies?
It's not going to go well.
What do the
either.
employers want?
Lower
They want
premiums.
lower premiums.
Yeah.
So the two possibilities to get you paid more are really non-negotiable with the insurance companies. They could choose to take less profit. Well, that meeting is going to go be a very short meeting at their board meeting to choose to take less profit. No. Or they could choose to charge higher premiums, and that's going to fall flat with the employers that are buying the insurance policy. So consequently, they look at where's the low-hanging fruit. The low-hanging fruit is you, doctor. Just pay you less because there's another one right behind you that'll sign up. Naren, when you go on public forums, like Facebook groups, and dentists talk about going out of network, you'll notice a lot of comments that say, oh, I could never go out of network. I have too big of an insurance base in my community. I could never go. And the predominant of the feedback on those kind of questions have to do with, I could never do this. I could never do this. Right? Do you notice that?
Yes.
And that plays right into the insurance company's strength because they have you convinced you couldn't do this. But when you look at it, if you look at it at a core level, why are you paying an insurance company 45 to 50% of your revenue? Why are you paying an insurance company 45 to 50% of your revenue? And that's the adjustment. That's what you're paying them to provide you patients. Correct?
Absolutely.
That's why you pay them. They're providing you patients. But if you step back and look at that objectively and say, I could get new patients into my practice for a fraction of that cost, then why should I sign up for the insurance plan?
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't. And
I think the other reality is patients are not going to the insurance database or insurance website to find you. They're finding you on Google anyway. So like you're paying for something. It's like, there's this guy charging taxes, but he's not adding any value. At least the government will provide security and armed forces and police and health insurance and all that. I mean, health benefits or, old age benefits and so forth. Right here, there's no benefit to you.
Well, in the last, I'll amplify that. In the last 10 years, that's radically changed. 10 years ago, previous, the way a typical patient found a dentist was to their employer provided them an employee benefit book.
Yeah.
And dental benefits were covered. And to find a dentist, just go to deltadental.com and pick a dentist that's part of the network.
Right.
That's the majority of what happened. You went to the insurance company's website. And before 10 years ago, they used to provide a physical booklet. And in the booklet was a printout of all the dentists in your town that were part of the provider network. And you pick one.
Yeah.
And of course, the only ones that were listed were those that were part of the PPO plan. And then it went to the website. Then you went to the website when websites became, they superseded print. And when websites did that. But today, that isn't where the typical patient doesn't go to the Delta website to find a dentist. They go to Google to find a dentist.
Exactly.
and they like what they see on Google, and then they call and then they ask you the question. What's the question they ask?
Do you take my insurance?
You take my insurance? And we've learned that there's ways to answer that question honestly and ethically that let people know that we roll the red carpet out. We have many patients that have the very same dental insurance that you have. Let me explain how it works. And we
Right.
tell them. But it's actually Google that's driving the phone call, not Delta's website.
Right.
So the idea of being able to charge you 45 to 50% of your revenue to get a patient is outdated.
Exactly.
And
Doesn't
that is not
adding
changing.
zero value. It makes no sense. Pre-Google, like you said, 20 years ago or 15 years ago, yeah, that's how patients found you, through that website or through that listing on that dental insurance book.
Let me
But
tell you what is happening, though, in I believe, to get the crystal ball out, what will be happening in 2025. It's not going to be a much needed overhaul of the insurance company. It's going to be a growing grassroots movement of dentists saying, I've had enough. And they'll be successfully resigning. And as that continues to develop, the momentum will change from the advantage being Delta, you need us, to your advantage, and you'll be making the right move to reduce that dependency. I predict a growing grassroots movement, especially among dentists that truly are developing a strong practice, relationship driven, nice range of services, massive amount of CE, delivering quality clinical services and a great patient experience. You'll be in demand. So that grassroots movement's going to be growing in 2025. You have to decide if you want to be part of that. I would encourage you to jump on that train, be part of that movement, and control your destiny. Ultimately, in my opinion, the only one that should control your fees, doctor, is yourself. You should control your own fees. Should not allow anybody else to control your fees, because by controlling your fees, they have basically commoditized dentistry. They're saying a crown's a crown's a crown. A hygiene appointment is a hygiene appointment is a hygiene appointment. And that is simply not true. And with you participating in that, by being a participating provider, you're basically agreeing that what you do is a commodity. And I'm here to tell you that it is not a commodity. And the best way you can make that so is by choosing not to participate. As you wrap up today, if you'd like to learn more about how you could get on that pathway to successfully reduce insurance dependence, I'd encourage you to schedule a coaching strategy meeting with me. Go to thrivingdentist.com/CSM. And we'll talk about your practice and talk about how your future could be very different than now by you taking the right steps to successfully reduce insurance dependence. Now, this has been a fun episode. Will dental insurance finally get a much needed overhaul in 2025? I'll bring it back full circle. No. But I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Hope it gives you some things to think about. And we'll hit pause here, and Naren and I will look forward to connecting with you on the next Less Insurance Dependence podcast.